All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi Stadium from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little update. Kyle Shanahan just spoke to the press minutes ago. We'll go through what he told us. Of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go get some brisket. Go talk to Damon and Mary. Tell them the Krug sent you. And this video is brought to you by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. Check them out. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove along the Monterey Peninsula. Go visit my good friend Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. All right, Kyle Shanahan sat down with us just moments ago. And the first question, of course, is Aiyuk going to practice today? And Shanahan said, I hope so. As far as the follow-up question was, what are your expectations for Aiyuk as far as Week 1 and the New York Jets? And he said, I have no expectations for Aiyuk. He said, no expectations for Week 1 against the Jets. He said he hasn't talked to Aiyuk, and he hasn't talked to him, and he doesn't know what his status is. Matt Mayoko followed up with, did Aiyuk tell you that he was going to practice today? And Shanahan said, no, he did not. So there you go. The 49ers doctors did clear him. He supposedly had a, quote, back injury. Tim Kawakami followed up with a question about, are you going to fine Brandon Aiyuk if he doesn't show up at practice after the 49er doctors cleared him? And Shanahan was like, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So obviously, the last thing they want to do when they're trying to get on the same page with their star player is then start talking about issuing fines and collecting fines and so on and so forth. But that is the status of Brandon Aiyuk. He is expected to practice today. That's coming up later today. We'll find out if he does. He has been cleared by the Niners doctors. If he doesn't practice, he would be subject to fines. Do the Niners want to levy those fines against him? I don't know. Shanahan was asked by Grant Cohn if Aiyuk has he participated in any football-related activity over the last month with 49er personnel or organizational representatives, and Shanahan said no. No, he has not worked out with any of the 49er people in the last month. Shanahan also reiterated, kind of on a scary note for many of you who don't want to see Aiyuk traded, which is most of us, that all of the options with Aiyuk remain available. So they could sign him to an extension. He could return on the fifth-year option. They could trade him. So that is the other option. And I thought, I don't know, maybe other people didn't notice that, but Shanahan definitely wanted to get in here today that all options with Aiyuk are still available and still on the table. So that means they could sign him to a long-term extension, they could make him play in the fifth-year option, or they could still trade him. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. Terrace Marshall was signed today by the 49ers. This is an interesting name as well. Terrace Marshall is a big once upon a time, was the top wide receiver prospect in the nation. This guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of Parkway High School in Louisiana, and went to LSU with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and the three of them won a national championship. This guy's big and fast, 6'2", 205 pounds. Hasn't worked out for him in Carolina. Ran 4.37 at his pro day, so he's got straight line speed. I don't know if he ever played to that speed, but he's a great athlete. 6'2 and a half, 32 3/4 inch arms, 9.5 inch hands, big guy. Second round pick by Carolina in 2021. Averaged 104 yards per game receiving in the 2020 season as a college player. Had some injuries in his past. He dislocated his ankle. He broke his leg. He's got a big catch radius. This guy busted out as a high school junior in Louisiana with 15 touchdowns and became a 5-star recruit. LSU took him. They started him as a true freshman in Baton Rouge there. Starred with Chase and Jefferson in that 2019 team. He's the great nephew of Joe Delaney, the late running back, who was so great in the NFL for years and years. But this is a guy that just didn't work out in Carolina, and they signed him. I asked Kyle what he liked, and he said, yeah, we liked him in the draft. We liked him coming out. They signed him as a practice squad guy. Now, what is he? He's a big X receiver. He's a boundary X receiver. What's Aiyuk? He's a boundary X receiver. If Aiyuk doesn't show up, what do the Niners have as far as boundary X receivers? They got Chris Conley. Chris Conley is the only other guy that would be considered a boundary X receiver that could step in. And Conley's played a lot of special teams and hasn't run the number of routes that you would run in a game. So I got to think that Terrace Marshall, to some degree, is a little bit of Aiyuk insurance in the first month of the year. You get into the first month of the year, you got to win football games. You got to have an X receiver, on the outside who can get open, against tight coverage. And Marshall can do it. So is he a great player? No, but he was probably the best receiver available at the cutdown. They've been shopping him all summer. They haven't been able to get anything in a trade. They were forced to cut him, and the Niners poached him. So once upon a time, Terrace Marshall was a big name. We'll see what he still has. A couple other things as far as Trent Williams. He was asked, when does Trent need to report to be able to play week 1 against the Jets? He said he doesn't know. It really depends on his conditioning level. They haven't seen him. They haven't talked to him. They don't know what his conditioning level is. And once they see him, they'll have a much better idea of, what he needs as far as, as far as time back. I mean, at this point, they need him back now. The preseason's over. The season's about to start. They need him back now. I mean, it's as simple as that. They could put a day on it. It's all inexact and guesswork. Barrow's asked about how, the Niners currently have 3 offensive tackles if Trent returns, with Trent and McKivitz and Jalen Moore. And he asked if the Niners were going to be looking at a 4th tackle, and of course they are. And Chris Hubbard, Brandon Parker will be considered to return. I think Hubbard would be the guy that would get the call. One more on Aiyuk. Shanahan was asked about his optimism about Aiyuk and Trent. And I think this is another interesting thing. He said, I'm optimistic that things will get done with Trent because things usually work out when both sides want to do the deal. As if almost to suggest that it might not work out with Aiyuk, as to suggest that maybe both sides don't want a resolution there that brings him back. So there's clearly a backstory with Aiyuk. I don't know what's going on, but there clearly is one. Kalia Davis has been put on the IR, set to return. Shanahan didn't want to make it official, but Dominic Pooney is going to be the starter at right guard. He hasn't been told yet. Shanahan did not indicate if Dobbs or Allen will be quarterback number 2. He hasn't made that decision yet. I'll tell you right now, he's going with Allen. Allen is going to be QB2. Talanoa Hufanga, is trying to work his way back. He's not right. He's not ready yet. He's probably going to be evaluated again next week. Elijah Mitchell done for the year. He re-aggravated his hamstring injury on Monday, and the only solution was to put him on season-ending IR. So rough break for Elijah, and Shanahan admitted that he loves Elijah, and it's a really tough break for Elijah. And then Isaac Guerendo, Shanahan also told us at the very end that Isaac Guerendo tweaked his groin on Monday night against the Raiders. He would be their primary kickoff return guy, but they'll have to see if he's healthy, and they're not sure if he'll be ready for week 1 and the New York Jets. And then lastly, he did say that Aaron Banks and his pinky finger is set to return to practice when the Niners meet up on Tuesday. All right, there you go. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.